You're about to watch a short interview between myself and one of my clients, Mike Maletich. Now, Mike and I have worked together for about 18 months now, and in the interview, he talks about the changes that have occurred in his business and in his life as a result of our coaching together. I want to give you just a brief background on Mike so that I think this context will be very important as you listen to this interview between myself and him. Now, Mike is a franchise owner with an organization and has been the number one franchise owner for the last 10 years in a row out of 650 franchisees. And Mike has been a high achiever at everything he's done in his career. At this point in time in his business, Mike runs 6 different franchises in 4 different states. He's one of the only people, probably the only person in the organization who is running 6 franchises across 4 different time zones. Now, one of the things that's important to know also is that last year, 2022, while a very successful year, was a very difficult year for Mike. He traveled over 16 times. He's traveled 16 times, leaving his family, his 3 kids, and the economy was just starting to turn as well in the real estate market, which was part of the industry that he's a part of. And so he told me that he had a conversation with his son, his eldest son, one day in the car while driving home from practice. And his son said to him, "You know what, Dad? Every time that you leave, everybody in the house is just so much more stressed out." And Mike knew instantaneously in that moment, while business is important, his family comes first. And he had to make some changes. He had to figure out a way, how can I travel significantly less this next year, but still grow my business? Now, 2023 has not been a banner year in the real estate world, but Mike is actually having a record-breaking year despite all the challenges that he's had in the industry that he's involved with. And so in this short interview, you'll see what some of the most important insights were that he's gained and how our coaching has directly impacted his business as a result. Enjoy. This is Mike Maletich. I've actually known Mike for many years in another life. We've sat on boards together as well. Mike is a franchise owner in a company that's about $130 million, been around for about 18 years. Currently, Mike is the number one franchise owner within that business, and he has created more revenue in his franchises than any other franchisee in that organization in the history of the company. So Mike had initially approached me, or I had approached you, I can't remember, at some point in, I'd say maybe May of 2022. And we've been working together now for about 18 months. We worked together for 6 months, and then things were going well, and Mike continued for 6 more months, and things continued to go well, and then we did another 6 months. So I just asked Mike if he'd come on and just share his experience with working with me so that others would benefit from hearing his story. So Mike, thanks for being willing to join me here and sharing a little bit about what your experience has been like.
Absolutely. Happy to do it.
So walk us through a little bit about what your business was like before we started coaching together, both the good and the bad, because it wasn't like we started working together because your business was in a terrible spot. I mean, you were the number one person in the organization, the most successful franchisee in company history. So what was business like, and why did you choose to hire a coach? Because you'd never worked with a professional coach before.
Correct. Yeah, I've never worked with a professional coach. So my business was at a point where things were going well, and I wanted to scale and grow larger, but I literally just couldn't see how to take the next step or what to do next. Part of that scaling was, opening up markets in places that I don't live, and I just needed somebody outside of my family, like running things past, a family member and getting advice that could really challenge the way that I was thinking, but also help me essentially to kind of like put the next most important step into place to grow larger across the country, essentially. So I hit a brick wall. I didn't know where to go. I didn't know how to think about things. And it just needed an outside perspective and somebody that had worked with other people, maybe not in my specific industry, but it worked with other people, and would just say, hey, have you ever thought about this? Or what about this? Or why wouldn't you consider this? And it was invaluable.
It's interesting because some people I talk to think that the reason they should get a coach is because things are not going well, and so they want to fix them. And that is a situation some people find themselves in where they need or they really want to work with a professional coach because things are not going as well as they used to go. They want to change the results they're currently getting. But oftentimes, at least a lot of people that I work with, they're already high performers. They're already getting great results. Things are going exceptionally well in their business, but they're trying to get to the next level. And one of the challenges when you're a high performer is there are very few people when you're way up here at the top who are willing to challenge your thinking. There are very few people, and there's no one within their organization, obviously, who is asking them difficult questions, who's causing them to look at things through a different lens. And when we reach a certain level of success, I often find that the strategies that got us to where we are at this level are not the same strategies that will take us from here to the next level. That's exactly where you
are. Yeah, it's exactly correct. And really one of the biggest things that, working with you has helped me to do is we got a coaching call on the calendar every month, sometimes twice a month. And a week before that call, you'll send me an email that says, hey, looking forward to talking to you next Thursday at 10 in the morning. What are the objectives of our time together? And what that forces me to do over the next 5 days is know that I'm paying you and think about my business and what is the objective of the call. And I think as high performers, a lot of times we're go, 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 and we don't spend the time needed to work on the business and think about, all right, so where am I going next and what do I need help with? So that just the ability for me to just pause and reflect and kind of think about what are we going to discuss? Where do I need help? What do I need to think differently about? Has really kind of helped me in ways that I didn't even really know that I needed help, to tell you the truth. So that's been great.
And I appreciate you sharing that. It's interesting because honestly, I don't have this broken out exactly, but I would imagine that probably half of, if not more than half of the answers and the strategies, solutions that you've put in play in your business over the last 18 months, they didn't come from me. They came from you. We're talking through things. I'm asking questions. You know your business better than I do. And a lot of the best ideas have come from you, but slowing down enough and having a container to discuss those things in that's not, like you said, family or colleagues or people on the team, because you certainly can't have those conversations with them, is invaluable. But I find, and I'm guilty of this as well, so many highly successful entrepreneurs and leaders will put off the most important things in their business for the most urgent. And often our to-do list, whatever's most urgent, that takes precedence. And even if our calendar says work on the business, think on the business, plan, we don't always take the time to do that because we justify and tell ourselves, oh, I can get to that later. It's not important that I do it. It's not urgent that I do it now.
Right.
But then 6 months goes by and here we are just running in a wheel or on a treadmill rather than building something to the next level.
That's correct.
What would you say are the top 1 or 2 principles that you've learned or just gained from our time working together that have really helped serve you and cause you to help your business continue to grow?
The ability to just really work through other people. When you're running one franchise, you're doing everything. You're banging the drum and playing the trumpet and, clashing the cymbals, and you're doing it all. When you're running 6 in 3 different time zones, you've got to work through other people. So I think 18 months ago, I was doing way more of the day-to-day than I currently am now. And now I'm doing more of the day-to-day in one aspect, but there's 5 major aspects of what makes my franchise go. And I don't touch probably 4 of those other 5 aspects. A great example. I was speaking with somebody in leadership in our company yesterday, and they said, I can't imagine how busy you are, how many hours you work. And I said, honestly, I don't do anything over the weekends. And I probably put in a good 45, maybe 50 hours a week. I have learned in the last year and a half to work very well through other people. And you've helped me not identify those people because they were already in my staff, but help identify the roles and how to communicate those roles and how to hold them accountable because everybody's managed differently. And it's just things that I've never done before. So that's been very helpful.
Yeah, it is easy to get caught up in the day to day, and then, like you said, find yourself doing things that aren't really most important for you to be doing, that you could be empowering others to do. You know, you mentioned there being like 5 main areas of the business you're spending your time in. Freeing yourself up from these other 4 that you're working through other people, and there's only really one area that you're spending your energy in. What else has that freed you up to be able to do, to not have to spend energy and time in these other things in the day to day?
Like it really has freed up my stress level. Like, I was talking to my wife the other day and I said, I'm probably less stressed now than I was 3 years ago when I had one franchise, or 4 years ago when I had one franchise, because I just know that the other people that are working with me are going to get things done because they care. So I'm really good at generating revenue for the company and doing the outgoing sales. That's where 99% of my time is spent. And I rely on my staff, which are all 1099, but I rely on my staff to come through with their objective.
What would you say have been the most important tangible results you've seen since we started working together?
Yeah, so I've owned a franchise with the company that I'm with since 2011. And I've worked with salespeople before, but it was always accidental. I've never trained a salesperson. They said, I want to work with you. They had a sales background. And I just threw them to the wolves. And if they survived, they survived. If they didn't, they didn't. So I never really had a salesperson because not many people survive. But the biggest tangible result is, for the last 6 months, I developed an account executive salesperson training program. I found a salesperson that actually lives in Israel. He's a friend of a friend. I trained him over a 3-week period. That 100% of that training program, you and I developed together with your guidance. And that person at this point is selling just as much as me. So last month we had 11 orders on our team. I had 6, he had 5. So I was effectively the biggest tangible as I have been able to, for the most part, duplicate myself. And that has brought a massive amount of revenue to the bottom line of the business.
For years, and you're very good at acquiring new clients. It's one of your strengths. But I remember even having a conversation with you where you said at one point in time earlier this year, maybe it was a year ago, that you'll never bring on somebody to sell.
I've said that hundreds of times. It's the hardest position to hire for. 100% commission-based salesperson, because it's so emotional.
Yeah.
But when you find the right person and then they're trained the right way and they have the right expectations, the training program doesn't work if it's not the right person. This person fell into my lap a year ago. They would have gone by the wayside because they wouldn't have been trained. But they were trained effectively, and we hold them accountable, and we have conversations consistently. So it's been the biggest tangible asset to the bottom line, and we started coaching together for sure.
Anything else you would say, either in terms of why you continue to invest in yourself through professional coaching, or anything else you would say that you think would be really valuable for anyone who's considering working with a professional coach to know?
Well, I mean, I like what you said. There's some times when you need somebody to talk to because all systems are broken. You need somebody to help them get fixed. But a year and a half ago, I was at a point where I couldn't call anybody in the organization and say, what do you think of this? Because everybody in the organization looked at me like I was the best person in the organization. So I needed somebody just to kind of, I don't want to say humble me, but I needed somebody that had worked with other high performers that had generated more business than me in their respective fields, that would be able to challenge my thinking. I mean, running multiple franchises is still kind of the enigma in the organization that I work with right now. So the fact that I eventually want to get to 10 or 15 or 20, they can't see it, nor do they have a strategy to help me get there. So I needed somebody to raise my level of thinking, expectation, so that my performance and development could match that, I guess you could say.
Sometimes when you're at the top, there's nobody else who's challenging you to be better.
Mhm.
And at the same time, the benefit of having somebody who's invested in the success of your business, but they're not in your business, is invaluable, because they can see things you can't see, and they can challenge you in ways that you don't currently challenge yourself. And I think that's been one of the greatest gifts from the time that we spent together for you. And that's why you continue to succeed. It's why you're on the trajectory you're on right now. And I'll just say from my vantage point, I really appreciate working with you, Mike, because when we talk, you take action and you implement the things that you say you're going to do. And there's no question you'd be, in my mind, you would be successful. You already are successful without working together. But it's been a pleasure to watch you develop as a leader and put these pieces in place, and to watch you position yourself for even higher levels of success with less stress and less time than you otherwise would have to put in.
Likewise, I can't imagine a year and a half ago, I can't imagine running the amount of franchises that I do and saying I feel less stressed, but it's just a testament to, yeah, the right direction from the right person. It's been great. It's been amazing. Well worth every dollar that I spent, but also kind of identifying the right people and working through that. So